Good morning, Colorado. You are listening to the Daily Sun Up. It's a conversation with the Colorado Sun. I'm team editor David Krause. Before we jump into today's conversation, here is a quick message from our sponsor.
Support comes from Credit Union of Colorado, proud to call Colorado home for more than 90 years. They are a local institution with a track record of showing up for the community and putting people first. Credit Union of Colorado. Honestly good. Learn more at honestlygood.org. Set the summer trend. Electrify your lawn equipment and help reduce harmful ground-level ozone in your Front Range community. Learn more at simplestepsbetterair.org. Got leftover paint taking up space? Recycle it with Paint Care. Paint Care makes it simple and easy for households and businesses to recycle their leftover paint responsibly. Drop it off for free at one of more than 200 sites across Colorado. To learn more, visit paintcare.org.
Now, back to the show. Good Monday morning, everyone, and thanks for starting your week with the Sun Up. I'm David Krause, and today I am talking with Sun Outdoors reporter Jason Blevins. We're going to dive into the latest tourism numbers for Colorado that came out that show the numbers from 2025. JB, how's it going, buddy?
I'm doing well. Okay, how are you?
I'm doing great. Jason, we talk about tourism a lot. We talk about tourism economies, mountain economies. The 2025 Colorado Tourism Report came out. Some interesting numbers. JB, I'll let you take it away. Give us the 30,000-foot view of those tourism numbers from last year.
Sure. First glance, you see a record 96.8 million folks came to Colorado on holiday. They spent close to $30 billion. That is an increase over 2024 and continues yet another record year, a long streak of records. But that growth is slowing, so much so that people are starting to actually raise some red flags. The pace of tourism traffic and tourism spending is below inflation, very, very slow. One source called it anemic. So what does that mean? That means that we are seeing a tremendous big increase, 1 million new day tripping visitors in Colorado last year versus only 400,000 new overnighters. Now that may not sound like a big deal, but day trippers only spend about $100. Overnighters spend close to $600. So as you can imagine, they stay longer, they spend more money. They're the ideal sort of visitor, and we're seeing that wane. And while across the nation, we are seeing tourism tourism industry is actually growing and has been on a very fast growth trajectory since the pandemic. Colorado's plateauing. And the slice of the overall traveling market that Colorado controls is dwindling. So lots of red flags, lots of concern in there. And people are kind of worried, especially on the heels of, the most dismal snow winter ever. And, this wildfire season, we're seeing a lot of concern out there as the tourism industry sort of regroups and tries to find its footing in these shifting sort of economic waves that are crashing over the state's signature industry, really.
Jason, typically in situations like this, we would see communities in the state kind of going full bore on a recovery or a tourism campaign. Are we going to see that this time?
The Colorado Tourism Office, they win a lot of awards for their tourism ads. They have one ad in the winter of 2025 that was deemed the best ever in terms of engaging people, getting them out on holiday. And for every $1 it invested, something $700 or $900 something dollars were returned in visitor spending. And that's the way the industry in Colorado has really reacted. They've been nimble enough to sort of, oh my gosh, we have a bunch of wildfires. Let's make sure that everybody knows this part of the state isn't on fire, or something like that. Or let's let them know that, in the winter and bad snow, they could still go tubing and sledding and sleigh riding and all the different things, cross country skiing. So usually that's the way the industry reacts. But we've seen the Colorado Tourism Office budget has been largely flat for a decade. It's even smaller heading into this year. And we've got some 36 plus communities where voters have redirected lodging taxes away from tourism promotion. We've written about this in the past. Legislation in Colorado that allows local voters to divert lodging taxes. And so that's going to housing and childcare and roads and public safety. And that's, very important causes. But at the same time, it sort of leaves tourism promoters and communities that are dependent on tourism sort of waiting and not maybe able to go out and reach those, high dollar type of traffic folks, those high dollar tourists, the ones who spend a week, the international travelers who spend huge and stay for long times. And they aren't going to cancel an international trip because of bad snow or a wildfire. They're just going to rejigger their, travel plans around the state. They tend to not cancel. So, there's a lot of concern out there how these communities are doing their outreach to reach these important visitors while these technically we've never spent so little on tourism promotion in Colorado.
These are numbers from 2025. Jason, what are we hearing about for potential 2026? Like you mentioned, a rough winter. We're seeing that with a tough rafting season and wildfires. What are the concerns about perhaps 2026?
Yeah, seeing everything down significantly. Obviously, we're on one of the worst snow seasons ever, where a lot of folks did not come skiing. I think the skier visitation fell to a level not seen since the early 90s, which is a huge, steep, precipitous drop that really has hamstrung a lot of communities. And now they're trying to, now as soon as summer's going without the rivers at full, we have the wildfire season, and the wildfire season gives way to the, monsoon. And we're having all these real challenging issues for a lot of these communities that are dependent on visitors. And maybe for a brief window there coming out of the pandemic when it surged, there was a lot of sort of local angst over the size of crowds and the relentless surge of crowds as everybody wanted to come up to the Colorado high country, spend time outside. Now these visitor dependent communities are starting to wonder again. They're saying, hey, this is we sure do miss our visitors, and where are they, and why is my favorite restaurant closing down, and things like that. So I think we're seeing a return to the embrace of tourism, but it's whether or not they're going to be able to get in there and deliver on ad campaigns and get those folks and reach those new visitors and make sure that Colorado is sort of what they call the top of mind when it comes time to booking vacations. They'd hate to see, Colorado lose footing to the West when, in fact, the Colorado Tourism Office's advertising budget for state promotion is one of the lowest in the West.
Jason, let's zero in on Leadville. It's a big time of year for them. Summertime is always huge, especially for the Leadville 100 races, the foot race, as well as the mountain bike race. Brings in thousands, tens of thousands of visitors every year there. I've participated as a crew person in both. Love the atmosphere and the energy there. The Willow wildfire has forced the change in the course, Jason, but talk about how they're going to keep that race on this month, both of those races on this month, and kind of that resiliency of these high country towns.
Yeah, exactly. I see this as sort of an example of those tourist dependent communities really working hard to figure out what they can do to get visitors back in town, even if it's not maybe the same experience that they were hoping with the deep powder or the big wild rafting season or things like that. And what Leadville's done is, as soon as that Willow fire burst out, they really they had to cancel the Silver Rush. That's the 50 miler, and that was a blow. And then left the big 100 races and the other parts of the Leadville race series kind of in question. And those races bring as much as, it's an old study, but they've looked at it for, it brings several $1 million, 15 plus $million to a town of 2,600. Very big deal. August is huge. It's the month that keeps Leadville, really afloat. And, they're down 30+% through July with that fire. So now the time series folks who own that Leadville 100 race series, they're rerouting it. They did a stage race a couple weeks ago, and were able to route it east of town over there in the single track by the college, Colorado Mountain College, and then another day down further south to Twin Lakes. So they've really come together in Leadville in a very, unified and collaborative way to work with firefighters, Forest Service folks, local government officials, business owners, and residents. And they are going to host those 100-mile races, both the running race and the mountain bike race in August 15, August 22. And that is they haven't quite nailed it yet because the Willow fire closures are all over, but we're not going to see Powerline. We're not going to see some of the, that stuff, heading into Powerline and outside of Powerline, obviously right in the middle of the fire. But it's going to be, they are doing it. And I think that's an example of these communities kind of working together and being innovative and thinking outside the box and saying, hey, we need to have these folks here. How can we get them here where it's not dependent on snow or rivers or, the same race course? Can we still get them there if we adjust things? And, I think the hope is that folks are still going to come and they're going to see that Colorado's a good time, even when it's a little smoky in the air, or if you have to maneuver around wildfires or maneuver around less than stellar snow. It's important to remember that our bad snow in Colorado is better than just about any good snow in the rest of the world. And I think that, that's a message that maybe got eclipsed last winter. And I'm certainly guilty of that, sitting there crowing about how bad it was. But we're kind of spoiled up here in Colorado. And folks I did ride chairlifts with last year, they were having a good time. If they were from out of town, they didn't know it was the worst winter ever that we kept trumpeting, and they had a great time.
Jason, always appreciate the time and the perspective on the numbers in the outdoors industry. If you haven't already, you can check out Jason's latest numbers on the 2025 tourism season, as well as a bunch of other awesome Colorado outdoors news. Check that out on our homepage and on our free Colorado Sun app. Jason Blevins, my friend, make it a great week.
Do the same, DK.
Thanks for listening. And finally, here are a few stories that you should know about today.
The Republican candidate for Colorado governor has his running mate. Victor Marks has tapped George Markert to be his potential lieutenant governor. Markert is a retired Marine colonel and originally ran for U.S. Senate this year, but failed to make the primary ballot. Election Day is November 3rd. A preliminary report on the death of 4 firefighters overtaken by a wildfire in western Colorado found that a rescue helicopter sent to retrieve the group could not land because of heavy smoke. 3 firefighters died on the scene, and another died weeks later of his injuries. A larger investigation is ongoing. Since its makeover a year ago, the state's official job board, connectingcolorado.gov, has been helping the Labor Department learn a lot more about the jobs, the talent, and who is getting hired. Roughly 7,300 people who've applied for a job on the site in the past year have been hired by the employer.
To read these stories and much more, visit our website, coloradosun.com. As an award-winning nonprofit news outlet, we take our mission of credible, independent journalism seriously, and you can check out our trust indicators at coloradosun.com/ethics. Our music is by the Denver-based Matt Skellinger Group. A link to their music is in our show notes, and a special thanks to Swallow Hill Music. I'm David Krause. See you next time.